Awesome. Okay. So just to kind of get into things, the title of this workshop is Christian Public Witness in the Digital Age. So some of you may have heard I just mentioned that throughout this conference we've been talking about being a light. And this is one way in which we can be a light. Is be a light in the sense of being a public witness. And so we'll start out, what do I mean when I say public witness, right? So when I'm using this term, I'm talking about bearing witness to the Lordship of Jesus Christ within our larger community. So you think about like the communities that we have, right? We have communities in our house, we have communities with our family, but we have communities in our church. But what I'm talking about is the community that's even outside of our church, right? The community that includes people maybe even who are not believers, maybe even people who are not Christians. I want to talk today about how we can be a light to them, not only in terms of sharing the gospel with them, because that's our ultimate goal, right? We want to bring them into a relationship, and lead them and invite them into a relationship with Jesus Christ. But I also want to talk about how we can meet their material needs, right? How we can help them grapple with these challenges and opportunities that are created by things like social media and things like AI. So that's what I want to focus on today. So you're going to hear me today use this term public community, right? So when I use this term, this is what I'm talking about. When I use the term public community, I want us to think about our cities, right? Our cities, our states, and our country, okay? So when we're talking about public community, we're talking about the places where we are located, the places where God has placed us to live at this point in our lives. And think about your neighbors in that place, right? Both Christian and non-Christian, right? So let me start by doing this. Let me ask you, so our conference here is in Virginia. So who here is not from Virginia? Okay, we got a couple people, okay? All right. Where are you guys from? North Carolina. Okay, so we got North Carolina represented in the room. John, where? North Carolina, all right. We got some NC. Are you guys like Duke or UNC people? That's a big rivalry down there. I won't step into that. Anybody else? Any other states besides Virginia? So we got like Virginia and North Carolina. All right. And then for North Carolina folks, are you guys from like the same city, same area? Where are you guys from? Greensboro area? Okay. Raleigh, I think. Raleigh. Okay, so we got Greensboro, we got Raleigh. That's pretty close. Okay. So for what I'm going to do at a certain point later on in the workshop is I'm going to have us split up. Okay? That might be a little bit challenging because there's a lot of people in here. So, but I'm going to have us split up and kind of go into corners to the extent we can. And I want to have us kind of split up by region. Okay, so for my North Carolina people, you guys can kind of be a group, one of our groups. And then for Virginia people, like if your church is, for Virginia folks, how many of you guys are from like Nova? We got any Nova people? Okay, yeah, we got one. Okay, all right. Richmond people? Okay, so I got some Richmond people, pretty good number. 757? Okay, cool. Okay, so we got some 757. So what we'll probably do is we'll probably have like Richmond and Nova kind of either split into one or two groups, and then we'll have a 757 group. So we should get like 3 or 4 groups. So that should work well. And what I'm going to do is give us an opportunity to kind of talk through some of the things. I'm not going to like stand up here and like talk through what I think about everything, and I also don't expect that we're going to be like solving all the world's problems and then going out the door and solving all the world's problems. I don't think that we're going to do that. But what I want to try to do is give us a framework to think through some of these things. And so I think that this will be a good opportunity for us to do it. And I want you to be able to think through these things with people from your area. So some of them may be from your church, maybe not, but being able to think through some of these challenges and ways that we can help our neighbors. But I want to begin by asking this question. As Christians, do we owe a duty to the public community as a whole? So even to non-Christians, do we owe a duty? What do you guys think? Yes. Yes. Okay. So I think probably most of us are on the same page with that. Why? Why do we owe a duty to non-Christians?
We are ambassadors.
Yeah, good, very good. We're ambassadors of Christ. Very good.
We're part of that community, and
Right.
we want to engage with them.
Right, we're a part of that community too, right? God's placed us in this place, in this time, this community. Very good. Anybody else?
Build God's kingdom.
We want to build God's kingdom. That requires reaching out to non-Christians. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Any other reasons why?
He said, love your neighbor as yourself.
Right. Yeah. We're commanded, right? Love. Jesus says second most important commandment, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Okay. So I think we're all on the same page, and I think that we agree that we have a duty to our neighbors and to look out for the well-being of our neighbors. And I want to focus on a particular passage of Scripture that helps to illustrate that. So in Matthew chapter 5, verse 43 through 48, can I get a volunteer to read this passage? Okay, Eugene?
You have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of your Father in heaven. For he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward will you have? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brave brother and sisters, what are you doing out of the ordinary? Don't even the Gentiles do the same? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect.
Thank you. So this is from Matthew chapter 5, and if this sounds, that context sounds a little bit familiar. This is actually in the same Sermon on the Mount where Jesus talks about us being the light of the world. So in that same sermon, Jesus is reciting this portion of Scripture that we see here. Now I have a portion in the middle that's highlighted, and I want to kind of draw attention to that. So Jesus is saying that we need to love our neighbors. We need to even love and care for people who are persecute us and mistreat us, right? People who are, he says, even if they hate us, right? So why does he say that we need to do that? He says that we need to do that because we need to imitate our Father who's in heaven, right? So it says here that our Father, that the Heavenly Father, says he causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. So let me ask you guys, if the sun stopped shining today and we didn't get any rain, we've gotten a lot of rain over the past 2 days, but if the sun stopped shining and we didn't have any rain, what would happen? That's right. We would die. We wouldn't last very long, right? Because if our bodies didn't give out first, we would starve to death because there would be no food, right? So this is a blessing from God that he gives to the whole world, whether a person is righteous or whether they're unrighteous. Everybody receives the blessings that God gives in making the sun shine and making it rain and allowing food to grow and allowing us to have sustenance, right? So some theologians have talked about this as the concept of common grace. Like this is an aspect of common grace that God gives to all mankind, right? So this is also there's this concept called the common good, right? So when you hear about like the need to pursue the common good, this is how I think we should think about it, right? We are commanded to pursue the common good of our neighbors because that's imitating God. Right? God is pursuing their good. God is providing for their needs. So we should also seek to provide for the needs of our neighbors, right? And this isn't a mere option or a suggestion. It's a core part of us bearing witness to Christ, and it's a core part of us being a light to the world. So when I talk about public witness, I'm talking about the common or public aspect, even people outside of the church community. And what I'm suggesting is that we need to bear witness to the Lordship of Jesus Christ in every aspect of life, including in issues like dealing with social media and dealing with AI. And there's a lot of different ways we could go with that, but I want to focus in today on that issue of social media and this issue of artificial intelligence and AI. So when I talk about digital age, what do I mean by that? So our entire society is shaped by technology. The digital technology impacts the ways that we communicate. It impacts through social media, the ways that we network together. It's integrated now into the physical world. So you guys may have heard of like Internet of Things. So like everything from like your refrigerator to your electric breaker to your car, all of those things. Sorry? They're all connected, right? A lot of those things are connected in with digital technology. So this has become a very important technology in our lives, and it impacts us in a lot of different ways. So you look at something like some of the more like sophisticated things like quantum computing, right? That's going to massively increase what a computer can do, right? Something like artificial intelligence, which is the really popular thing right now, right? It's called artificial intelligence, like we think of like sci-fi, like in Captain America, the thing appears in the computer screen and it controls everything. It's really not like that sci-fi. It's like collective intelligence. It's pulling together like things from a lot of different sources and then putting it out in response to our prompts. So, but that has implications, right? And so what are some of the implications? One of them is that digital technology needs resources, right? So it needs data. In order for digital technology to work well, it has to have information. And where does it get that information from? The internet, but where does the information originate from? From research, but research of what? Us, right? Yeah, so it's researching us. It's researching our patterns. It's researching our choices, our shopping decisions, where we go out to eat. It's looking at every aspect of decisions that we make, and it's bringing all that information together. And that's informing things like the content that we see when we turn on our computers, right, or we pull up our smartphones. It's shaping every aspect of society in many ways. And so it's gathering all that information. So it needs data, it needs monetary investment, right? You have a certain amount of money, that money's got to go somewhere. Where does that money usually flow? To the most profitable investments, right? That's digital technologies right now are some of the most profitable investments. So that's where resources get allocated. If you live in a rural area, or if you live near a data center, you probably know, right? Data centers use energy. Right? They use a lot of electricity and they use a lot of water. Guess who else uses electricity and water? Us, we do, right? So that's the thing we have to think about, right? That's a way in which it impacts people. It's a way in which it impacts our neighbors. Another way in which it impacts us is it can shape our habits. So our habits can become shaped by technology. The more we use digital technologies, the more it shapes our habits and practices. So there's a video that it was too long to include in the presentation, but literally if you search like when you use ChatGPT too much on YouTube, it's a video of this store clerk and the guy walks in, the store clerk's like hello, and the guy looks up at the store clerk and says, the store clerk said hello to me, what do I say? And then it's like say hello back, and he's like hello, and then the store clerk's like the customer just said hello to me, what do I do? And so ChatGPT is like basically directing these two people and how to interact with each other, right? So that's kind of a silly example of how if we kind of use these technologies as a crutch, it can begin to shape our habits, right? It can begin to shape the way we interact with each other. Just think about like even 30 years ago, 35 years ago, right? Like people couldn't just send text messages like they could today, right? People actually had to talk on the phone. Like how often do you guys actually like talk to people on the phone? Like maybe some, but oftentimes we just send the text, right? Because that's the shorter, easier thing to do, right? So that can actually impact our ability to talk to each other. So that can impact our habits. And then once you start to let that grow out, it begins to impact a community as a whole, right? And that begins to shape how the community as a whole begins to act and interact with each other. So it affects resources, it shapes our habits. what I want to do is kind of open things up a little bit. Like I said, I'm not going to stand up here and be like, I think AI is great, or I think AI is bad, or I think social media is right. What I want us to do is kind of think through these technologies, think through how it operates in our lives, think about how it's operating in our neighbors' lives, and then identify challenges from that and identify like opportunities from that, and then think about how we can come up with some solutions together. So I'm actually just trying to help us like brainstorm together and think together about these things. So I want to begin by saying, like, what are some of the positives that you see from social media and AI? Like, what are some of the positive things that you see? Answers? Okay, so like you have a question, you just pull it up, ChatGPT, boom, 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 it gives you an answer. Usually the right one, do you think? Do you like double check it? Usually? Okay. Cool, okay, so answers, what else?
There's like Christian content creators on social media.
Yeah, Christian content creators, and they can get their stuff out much farther than they could before, right? Before you had to like make a little like cassette tape and like distribute it. Now you can like send it out, you know? That's a big boost. Yes?
Sharing of people's stories and the GoFundMe pages that are happening.
That's right. Yeah, it's a lot easier to be able to raise money for people in those situations. Yeah, Ethan?
Brings a lot of people together.
Brings people together, networks. My wife is from Korea, and you know, we pull up Katalk and video chat with her parents. We couldn't do that 25 years ago, 30 years ago, right? So, yeah.
You can find out about like important things that like you don't really know about or so forth.
Right. Like we have like, you used to have to go to the library for those things, right? You have the whole library in our hand, right? You could just pull it up and just.
Or like there's markets that you don't know that's happening and like you can show up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can do research on places you're going to go. I went on a vacation one time, and I was like, hey, listen, I want to go on vacation. This is what I want to do. This is like the kind of thing I want to do. Where's the best places to do this thing? And it gave me like suggestions, and it suggested restaurants. It was great. Like, it was super helpful. Yeah. What's some other positive things? Sorry? Entertainment, right? Yeah, entertainment's a lot easier to find those things. Yeah. Okay, so those are some of the positive things. I can tell you that from a missions perspective and from the perspective of the church, there's a lot of positives that the social media and AI have brought. Christians around the world are interconnected like never before. Somebody made the point about interconnection, right? We can connect with Christians across country lines. We can network Christians together. We can provide content to each other. That's something that was harder to do in the past, right? It's much easier to do now, much more accessible. The gospel message can be translated into foreign languages in seconds. It used to take months to do those types of things. You think about like obscure languages, like really hard to translate languages. AI is able to pick up on a lot of those things. It's not always perfect, but it's able to make a lot of progress, right? And it was a very slow and very expensive process to try to do that manually. Right? So that's a big help. Missionaries can digitally engage with people all over the world. So there's opportunities to actually reach into communities and find people on like digital platforms, right? And communicate with people, maybe in a way that you wouldn't be allowed to communicate with them in having physical presence, right? So that there's a lot of advantages. But I also want to talk about like what are some of the negatives. So again, just think about your own experience. Think about your neighbors. Think about the people you go to school with. What are some of the negatives that you see with social media? Yes.
Substitute for real community, for in-person community.
Yeah, substitute for real community.
False information.
Yeah, false information, right? Feeds you the wrong thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it brings a lot of the wrong people together and leads to a lot of wrong answers.
Right. Wrong. Yeah, I can bring the wrong people together. The same methods that we can use to help network Christians together, terrorists use a lot of the same networks, right? Yeah, that's it.
Inappropriate adult stuff.
Yeah, inappropriate content. Yeah, it's easier to get to in some cases.
Too much brain rot.
Brain rot. Brain rot in the sense of like laziness, like you become lazy, or just
like social media reels are like kind of like brainless and kind
Oh,
of.
brainless. You just want to watch brainless things for hours on end. Yeah.
Did anyone say misinformation?
Misinformation. Yeah. That's okay.
And people tend to lose the ability to be self-sufficient.
Right. You become reliant on AI. Yeah. Yep.
Vulnerable people who already lack a lot of those abilities to do mental health, but to do things that are inhuman and just disgusting.
Yeah. We've seen that. We've seen where people sort of use like ChatGPT as their counselor, right? And you think about it. It's like if ChatGPT, if I am sort of like deciding, should I go talk to a counselor, should I go talk to my pastor, but then I got to go to in person, like it's kind of embarrassing. Hey, I can just pull up ChatGPT and try to do it that way. Yeah, and then the response they get may not be very great.
It's kind of an issue, like an integrity issue, like school and work.
Right. It creates integrity opportunities to lack integrity. Right, makes it much easier to cheat in many ways. Yeah.
Ultimately, like the intent behind social media and all those AI models is to keep you using it as long as possible and profit off you as much as possible.
Right. Yeah. So the algorithm, like what it's driving towards you, and usually that's going to respond. What are two things that's usually going to respond to? Things that make you really angry, or things that already confirm what you think. Right. So that's not healthy, right? If we're always seeing things that make us angry, or we're always seeing things that just confirm what we already think, that's not good for us, right? In the long run. Yeah.
You think like addicted to your phones like I have been?
Yeah, it can be.
Any negative impact, like, hey, does this look good? Like, you like think about yourself too much of that. Like, is that
Right, comparison, right?
Think too much about other people's opinions.
Right. Yeah.
You're the only one addicted to your phones here.
Yeah, so yeah, we all struggle. And by the way, that's a struggle that's not just with people in your age bracket. Like, there's adults who are like, man, I can't believe so-and-so got to go on that really nice vacation. Man, look at all these pictures on their social media. Man, they make so much money. I wish So we always try to show like generally our best side, right, on social media. And sometimes it doesn't present a real picture and can cause people to compare. Very good. Man, it's a very good insight here. All right. Anything else?
And like lack communication skills like the real ones.
Right. You can lose those communication skills in the real world if you're constantly just interacting over text or having AI kind of prompt answers for, responses for you. Yeah.
And there's kind of like AI ethical issues, like can you use AI to like write a sermon for you?
Right. Having the AI write the sermon. Yeah. Yep. So.
Using it for school.
Yeah, using it for school, like using it like instead of doing the school work, or like yeah.
I had someone actually cheat on the SO and someone speak college.
Someone using AI to cheat. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You rely on AI too much, and like you don't know how to think for yourself anymore.
Right. So you don't. Okay. Very good.
Actually,
Yeah.
I've never met someone
That used it or that didn't use it.
no, they don't use it on school.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
AI inherently has no ethical basis, and it has very low limits to what it can and will say, no matter what the companies do market it as.
Yeah, there's not a lot. It's very, very open-ended right now. There's not a ton of regulation of it, and even the companies that sort of have to regulate themselves, they sort of write the rules in a way that allows them to continue to make the most money, right? So yeah, it's very hard to find ethical guidelines on that. All right, man, there's some good feedback here. Okay, so here's what I want to do. For the next, I'm going to do a 15-minute, I'm going to allot about 15 minutes for this discussion. But I want us to split, to the extent we're able to, by region, right? Because I want us to talk about specifically, you think about all these positives that we've talked about, you think about all these negatives, what are some ways in which like specific challenges and specific opportunities that are created by these things, right? And then what are some ways that we can either take advantage of those opportunities or help address those challenges? And think about it in the context of your community, right? So your cities, your region, and some of the specific things. If you're in Nova, like data centers are probably like that's like the data center capital of the country right now, right? So that's a big deal, right? So that's even an aspect, right? Like what about people who live near data centers, right? What about, you know, if you're from North Carolina, maybe you know, think about like all the universities in North Carolina, all the students in North Carolina. There's a lot of issues we just talked about with using stuff in education. So there's a lot of opportunities for us to talk about things. Here's what I want to do. So I'm going to put up focusing on social media and AI, specific opportunities and challenges, and then specific potential solutions that we have for that. So I want to try to split up. I'm going to do it as efficiently as possible. So if I could get my Richmond and Nova people to kind of group together, if I could get my 757 people to group together, and then to get my North Carolina people to group together, kind of over in, we could do maybe three corners. A lot of good discussion there. Thank you all for that. Okay, so here's what I'd like to do. We'll go ahead and just to get started, maybe if I could have one person from each group just kind of share what was going on in your group and what some of the discussion was in your group. So, do I have a volunteer from North Carolina, Central Virginia? Anybody? I'm eyeing people. Okay, go ahead.
So we talked about like challenges for like AI, social media. Sounded like some schools like ban the use of social media. Some schools are kind of like maybe. And I think we kind of thought of it's kind of hard to answer whether or not like it should be used at all because it can help you like understand stuff, but at the same time people might use it to like do not understand and like not do the work.
Oh, right.
So
It's kind of like a balancing then, you know, between just doing away with it completely and then trying to find a way to get people to use it responsibly.
right.
Yeah.
And I think one thing we talked about is like maybe have like there were like classes of how to use
Okay.
AI well.
Yeah.
Instead of just like having full freedom to use it.
Yeah.
And I guess one thing we talked about with social media is like using it as a way to like coordinate physical meetups and gatherings instead of just like using it as like a sole source of community and interactions.
So like I wonder and kind of invite thoughts on this. So like I like the idea of like having like some classes like to kind of help people like yes, learn how to use it, but then also learn how to use it properly, learn how to use it well, and learn how to use it responsibly. Where do you guys think that kind of like, is that something we should like encourage our public schools to offer? Is that something like churches should think about like tackling? What do you guys think? Anybody? No, I mean maybe it's either one, right? Yeah, maybe either. What do you think?
Yeah, it's probably something that not only churches should provide, but also like parents should teach their kids
Yeah.
on how to better prepare themselves for it
In the home.
to correctly. And I think there's also an ethical issue, like besides the use of AI and social media, about like taking pride in doing your work yourself, right?
Yeah. Maybe the type of work you're doing might be dependent on whether you should use it or not. Very good. Okay. Any other thoughts from North Carolina? That was good. That was really good. Okay. All right. What about 757 boys? What do you guys think?
So for opportunities with social media, we came up with the gospel spread pretty quickly and easily, and then you can learn a lot from Christian content creators that are that are saying the right things. And then for challenges, we said that it can lead to misinformation and also like addiction as well. So for AI opportunities, we said it helps you with research and it can help you plan like your ideas and help to give you ideas. And for challenges, we said it can make you lazy if you just put everything in like copy and paste. And it also leads to like misinformation and like privacy concerns because it can't like take data from your conversations and use it.
Yeah.
So for solutions, well, we came up with restricting like use of AI in social media. Like our school blocks a lot of things, except for Copilot apparently. And then also having like an AI that actually helps you study instead of just giving you the straight answer. And like an overarching like policy over the use of AI in social media.
All right, very good. I like that idea of like having AI kind of help teach you as opposed to just giving it to you. I like that. That's good. Very good. Okay. What about Richmond? What about you guys?
Some of our conversation was on social media and how it can be very difficult to separate that from both like your identity, I guess, as like I am what it was perceived to be.
Oh yeah.
But I think as part of that also is a realistic comparison. We were talking about a lot of like kind of youth. We're talking about this. How you just need to be very intentional when you're doing these things to understand that like these other people's lives have no direct impact to me. Like if they're going on a school vacation, it doesn't mean I'm any worse because I'm not.
Yeah.
And also just being able to understand that this is like not what people's real lives look like. This is just the image that they would like to put out, and to just keep that front of mind as you're using these platforms.
Great. Okay. Awesome. Any other persons want to share from what your group discussion involved? Do we have any other? Yeah, Ethan, what's up?
I think AI is very much a part of our lives now. You can't really escape from it. There's no like real turning back. So you can't just ignore it for the rest of your life, or else you're going to become like one of those like old people who gets tricked into like scams. You still gotta like be knowledgeable enough to like realize when you're being targeted by it.
Yeah.
Right. And you gotta be knowledgeable enough to teach your kids when they are, or like your younger siblings or your like older parents, like when they are being targeted by it as well.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, so I want to talk just a little bit in the time we have left, some potential solutions that we can think about. I think everything you guys talked about was great, and a lot of it, I think, really hits on some of these things here as well. So the first suggestion that I have there is modeling discipline. So John, I know when you guys were putting together the conference, right, you put in a rule, right, that we should only use our smartphones like in emergencies, right? We should reduce the use of our smartphones, and our access to social media and things like that. There's a reason for that, right? Because you wanted us to be able to focus on this conference. You want us to be able to focus on God in this time, right? So by things like social media fasts, we can model discipline for our neighbors. So we're doing things like social media fasting, limiting our screen time, or purposefully engaging friends and family in person, right? Like if you have a choice, maybe choose to do it in person. And that's a small thing that we're even doing right now here at this conference, and setting an example in that way. Training AI. So this is an interesting, you remember I mentioned earlier that AI is a form of collective intelligence, right? Sometimes some people would say that artificial intelligence is even like a misnomer. It's collecting intelligence and putting it together. So the learning models that AI operates off of, those are trained, right? Those are trained. So there are actually Christian ministries out there that are focused on training those learning models, right? So that those learning models are putting out truth as opposed to error. I think I'm one who believes that the Christian faith is actually consistent with logic, and we're already seeing this where some groups that are hostile to the Christian worldview are actually throwing up the flag and being like, AI is very biased, it's very, very biased. And this is a huge problem. And part of the reason they're raising that concern is because AI is producing outputs that are consistent with the Christian worldview in some ways. And that's because it literally is following a logical progression. But we can help. Really, every group out there that has an opinion is trying to train these models. So we have the ability to help train these models and shape what the output is. And then lastly, legislating responsible development and use of AI. So some of the solutions we talked about here might involve like actual legal action, right? Like legal policies being put into place, laws and regulations that might help shape how AI is used in society. And so obviously we have the ability to speak into those things, right? And especially those of you who are using it. So many of these legislators, I don't know if you guys have ever, I was a little nerd and I used to watch C-SPAN when I was a teenager. So, but if you guys ever want to like have a good time, just go on YouTube and look up one of these hearings with these congressmen and like the Mark Zuckerberg and like the CEOs of these tech companies, and watch the Congress people try to ask questions of the CEOs, and it will be very funny because the Congress people will be like, they're very confused about how all this technology works, right? So for those of you who know and understand what it's like to actually use it, you'd be surprised actually how much lawmakers would value that perspective. So I say that one last resource that I want to note before we end up here. Obviously, how many of you guys have heard of the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission? So this is a Southern Baptist entity. They actually, in 2019, put out a statement about artificial intelligence as this technology was being developed, and it's obviously a lot farther along now than it was then. But they are the public policy arm for the Southern Baptist Convention. So they are located in Washington, D.C. They have communication with lawmakers. Their purpose is to educate. And so I'm sure that as people from Southern Baptist churches, they would value your perspective, right? So, if they hear from you about challenges that you're seeing with your neighbors, right? Like, because that's what we're talking about today, right? Like challenges that you're seeing in your cities, in your communities with your neighbors, being able to get that information to them that might help shape some of what they do in terms of educating lawmakers. So there's actually some ways for us to make a difference and to have an impact for our neighbors in that way and to be a light for our neighbors. So thank you guys so much for participating today. Really appreciate it. Great discussion.